Okay, today we've got our very special guest here, Dirk Strangely, and I'm so excited to have him on here. His journey is so fascinating. I really love his story behind it. So he's going to share us today how he developed his own audience and his discovery of by working art shows and things like that, and how he created Kimokawaii, and now he's in his fourth year of doing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and step back and let him tell you his story. So anyway, this is Dirk Strangely, and welcome to Owned Audience.
Thanks for having me, Greg. So, Kimokawaii, you want to know how it got started, huh?
Yeah, how long have you actually been doing this? So we've known each other for a long time. So full disclosure, I like this guy so much I married his mom.
That's true. That's true. So, we're in our fourth year. And before this, those who want to know more about Dirk Strangely, if you Google me, you'll find out a little bit about me. But I've been a well traveled artist in the United States for 20 years, represented in galleries in Disney, just various galleries around the United States. I've traveled to pretty much every state in the United States as an artist. And I've met a lot of people. I've seen a lot of the way events are hosted and the kind of the behind the scenes stuff over the years. And during COVID, I had a publishing company and I had a tech company. Now, my tech company had a platform where artists could get on there, and it was basically made artists' websites completely irrelevant because you could get on there, you could put up a portfolio of your art, sell your prints, get them drop shipped and everything all in one place. And you could do live art in front of people who commission you, or just get on the stream and do live art. But it was just dedicated to artists. So when COVID hit, everybody went out of business basically in the event industry for obvious reasons. The whole world was shut down. So all the events just stopped. I had all this business lined up and it all just came to a halt. Now, we didn't have income coming in because we owned our own business. And when you own your own business and you can't do it, you just don't make money. So since I had this tech company, I turned our website into our whole platform into a platform that could be like a virtual convention. And I invited a bunch of guests to attract people to the platform. And we completely pivoted and remodeled the whole platform to become a virtual center for people to still be able to attend events from home. And in doing this, we found that I'm pretty good at organizing events. So we had 127,000 people show up to our homepage on Saturday morning of our event on our platform. We had hundreds of members sign up. We made money. Everybody made money, including the artists, including the guests. We even had vendors setting up and selling their knickknacks and stuff like that. And so my team was like, hey, you're pretty good at this. Are we going to do in-person events when they open things back up? And I was like, we'll see. I like that idea. And so I helped somebody market their event when things were opening back up. And this guy comes to me and I heard you're good at marketing. Can you help me sell some tickets? And I was like, sure. How many have you sold so far? And he was like, my event's in 2 weeks. And I'm embarrassed to tell you how many tickets I've sold. And I'm like, just tell me, we got to start somewhere. And he said 12. So he had been collecting money from vendors and artists and stuff like that to set up at his show, but he only had 12 people committed to showing up because he didn't know how to advertise. He didn't know how to market. He didn't know how to promote. So I said, okay, give me $1.50 on each ticket I sell and we'll make it happen. So I pulled all the strings I possibly could for a last minute event. It was a comic book convention. I advertised all of his guests. He had decent guests. And I advertised everything going on. I put a few things together. I helped manage him because he wasn't that experienced with what he needed to do. He wasn't even having his guests sign contracts, so I had him do that. But long story short, I sold 1,800 tickets in 2 weeks. So this also proved that I'm good at doing this in this particular niche. And so I decided to do an anime convention because I knew the market was good. There is not an anime convention in my area, and I wouldn't be direct competition with the guy that I helped. And so I was like, what am I going to name this thing? And as I told you earlier, I used to travel the United States to different states representing my art, selling my prints, signing my books, what have you. And at this one show 10 years ago, I was set up next to this old Japanese man, and I made friends with him. And we got along, we were joking with each other and stuff like that. And he comes and looks through my portfolio and is looking at my art. And he was like, well, there is word that describes this type of art. I'm doing a horrible Mr. Miyagi Japanese accent, but you guys can live through it. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And he's, there is a word in Japan that describes your art perfectly. It is Kimokawaii. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, it means cute and also disturbing. And I was like, cool, I'll take it. So when I was trying to figure out a name for my convention, and here I'll tell you this too. This is another strategic part of where the name came from. Is I didn't want to name it where I'm geographically limited. I live in Conroe, Texas. I didn't want to name it Conroe Anime Convention or anything like that. I live near Houston. I didn't want to call it Houston Anime Convention because that limited me geographically, because in my mind I want to expand. I want to be able to do it everywhere. So I kept hearing his voice in my head, that Mr. Miyagi voice that he had, Kimokawaii. I kept hearing that in my head, just ringing in my ears. And I was like, I'm thinking about calling it Kimokawaii. So I don't know a lot about anime. I do like anime. I grew up with it, but I'm not like a big time nerd with it. But I have lots of friends who are, and I know lots of people who are. So I contacted my friends who are. I said, what do you think of this? And all of them were like, that's actually pretty freaking cool. So I named it Kimokawaii. We did our first year. And in fashion of my reputation and my patterns for doing events, we knocked it out of the park the first year. I put together a really awesome team. I had meetings every week leading up to it. I made sure everybody knew their job. And we felt like we were a mess the first year. We felt like we were a mess. We felt like we were completely disorganized and that we could do way better. And it's funny that we felt that way because the lady at the convention center that runs it told me, she was like, you guys are so well organized. I appreciate you so much. And then the feedback that we got online was all, oh, this was a very organized event, especially for its first year. And we were looking at each other, huh? Us? I guess because our expectations are up here and we really put a lot behind preparing for this. Whoa. Hold on, let me adjust my camera. It's freaking out here. Because we put so much into the preparation before it, I guess we put a lot more preparation into it than most other places, most other promoters that are in the space that we're in. And because of that, we were recognized as being very organized. We had really good feedback online, and we've been doing it every year, and every year it's profited at least 18%. Our highest profit was 38%. and we're trying to beat it this year, and we're getting ready to expand to other cities and other states now.
Great. That's fantastic. That's a great story there. So, yeah, each year it keeps growing. Let's recap here. Back when you first started out, I think you had told me before you leveraged your connections and your audience that you previously had from being an artist, if I'm
Mhm.
correct on that. And then you just built on that. And each year, one of your ways you're promoting it is to your list that you already have from previous guests and stuff like that, and that expands it out to the next event. Am I right?
Yeah, I didn't even think about touching on that part of it. The thing about it is, me being an artist, I've always been a businessman too. So, being an artist and traveling to all these states, I've always collected an email list. People would follow me on social media. So, even before the tech company, and I grew that to where we had a following too, I just utilized all of it. I had a big following, big list as an artist. And if you think about it, I'm traveling to different types of pop culture events. So it's completely relevant. And because I live in the Houston surrounding area, the majority of my followers are here. So I was sending email lists out through my personal email list. Hey, I'm hosting this anime convention. So it was like a good head start because I already had a following. I already built a built-in audience and following of people who trust me, know when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through with it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you shared with me earlier about this. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. You were in Dallas. You went to that convention, and how people were coming up to you from they known you when they were little kids. I can't tell that story, so why don't you tell me a little bit of the
Mm.
story about? I was so excited that you were excited about doing that event and how it really sparked everything and gave you even some more ideas. So could you share maybe a story or two about that?
Sure. The reason that Okay, so I retired 4 years ago as a professional artist and just focused on my events. And the reason I retired is because I felt burnt out for doing it 20 years. And I got to the point to where I felt like I was almost being like, when you're making a living just from your art, you can position yourself very easily to start it's to feel like a job. And it is a job when you have a business and you're making a living and relying on your art to pay your bills. It becomes a job, and it takes a little bit out of the joy of it. So I established myself to make money outside of being an artist. So when I came back, that's why I was excited, because I no longer had to be the artist and create art to pay the bills. I already have that taken care of. I came back for me this time and to share the love with the people. I love people and share the connection with people. So, to touch on what you were talking about, people coming up to me, and I was a little kid when I first saw your art. My first show back, this woman comes up to my table, full grown woman comes up to my table, and she's like kind of geeking out over my stuff, and I'm like, and she's talking to me like she's already familiar with me, but I don't recognize her at all. Now, this is what made yeah, I'm excited about this. I love this, but at the same time, it makes me feel really old because she says, "Oh, so I came with my aunt to Comic Palooza. It's this pop culture convention in Houston when I was a guest there when she was 13 years old. She had $20 to spend at the convention. I didn't know this at the time, but all she had was $20 to spend. My prints are $20. They're still $20. I charged $20 for my prints 10 years ago. I'm still doing it. I didn't do inflation. But she spent her $20 at my table buying a print. And she remembered the connection with me because I was talking to her about art, and she was very fascinated with art and the thought process behind it, and I was sharing all that with her, and she told me, and this is something that I do especially for kids. I do it for everybody, but especially for kids. I took out a piece of paper and I drew her a cat, but I drew it with it was I was drawing it upside down so she would see it the right way, and I drew a cat for her upside down so she could see it drawn right in front of her the right way. And I signed it for her and gave it to her, and she was just so fascinated by it. And I even gave her the pen, and I had her draw the moon in the background and the stars. And so she comes up to my table recently when I stepped back in out of retirement, fully grown woman, and she tells me the story of what I did for her when she was 13 at this show. And I even gave her one of my books. She said I gave her a book because she spent all of her money. And she had been just obsessed with art and my art since then. And when I retired, she was just like happy with her prints she had. I didn't even advertise I was going to be at this show. So when she saw me there, she freaked out. But I've had that several times, like grown people with a family and kids and a career come up to me and be like, when I was a little kid, I used to follow your art. I used to come to shows just to see you. My parents would bring me just to see you. And I'm like, first I'm touched, but then I'm like, man, I'm old because they're bringing their families. They got careers. One of them was a lawyer.
Wow, that's great.
He went through law school. What? What am I doing?
Yeah, that's funny.
But
That's great. Yeah, it's
yeah.
your it's because you genuinely I know you. It's because you genuinely give without taking. You really
Mhm.
you want to yeah truly help people out and being able to build a connection and just share your vision or your artistic abilities with other people, and you build that bond and that know and trust, and that's the power of building your own audience. So you went from traveling broke artist to barely making it to now a successful event organizer and growing it really well. So I appreciate you so much to come on here and sharing your experience and your journey. And sorry, so I know we're going to have you as a guest again here down the road at maybe after this next and tell me some of the other stories. And I really want to maybe on the some of the next episode dig into some of the people that you met, Stan Lee and things like that.
Mm.
And these other we were talking the other day about you're going to do something with Lou Ferrigno
Hmm.
and how those connections actually can has helped you grow your business. So those are pretty
Yeah.
exciting things. Is there
Yeah.
anything else
So
you'd like to add? Go ahead.
yeah, I want to throw one more thing for your listeners. So you were talking about growing your own audience, and I did it on accident. I know how to do it now, but I was doing it on accident. And here's how you do it on accident on purpose. I say on accident, but I'm telling you, so now you can do it on purpose. But I did it on accident, and you already touched on it. I genuinely cared about making a connection. And that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do is you find what makes you happy, what makes you excited, and what you want to share with other people. And then you genuinely share it. And don't think of getting something back. Only think of giving to them. And when you do it that way, it'll come back to you naturally because people are reciprocative naturally. And not everybody, but the majority of people are reciprocative. So if you genuinely, freely just give, the people will reciprocate and they'll be drawn to you like a magnet.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. We're going to wrap this up here today. I so appreciate you coming on there. So how can people want to follow you or find out more about you, what you're doing, what's going on? We want to connect with you. How can they get a hold of you?
Lots of ways. We just launched strangelystudios.net. You could follow me on Instagram at Dirk_Strangely. Strangely is spelt strange with Ly. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. You can find me anywhere. Google Dirk Strangely and you will find me.
Yeah, you got a great knowledge graph going, and that's one of the next episodes we're going to talk about building out your knowledge graph. So you've got an impressive knowledge graph, and we'll touch on that again some other time. But I'll put all the links down into the show notes so you can go follow Dirk Strangely and Kimokawaii. And again, thank you for being a guest here on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.